we have Sven Ditz and Robert Weißgraeber. Maybe Sven, you could start with the introduction of yourself.
Yeah.
And yeah, great.
My name is Sven. I'm the CEO of Sitegeist. We are an internet agency, about 70 employees, and we are using TYPO3 since almost ever. This is our biggest product, and 5 or 6 years ago we started to do Agile stuff, and we did it finally very extreme, and it changed almost everything 180 degrees and improved our agency a lot.
I remember that you made a tremendous presentation in 2015 at TYPO3 conference in Amsterdam. I still have this picture of you share, was like kind of a throne.
Yeah.
And you were having like kind of a fairy tale book in front of you. And I guess he's gonna get that stuff. So and I remember that I didn't attend this. I didn't attend this session, but it was the after the session, the whole conference area was humming about you should have gone into that session. Luckily, people have recorded it. I think if you dig into the internet and you look into TYPO3 channels, you will find that presentation. So for you guys out there, if you want to dig into how it all started, for me and for others maybe, this is the presentation to do, the presentation to see. Sven, okay, so you're TYPO3, like TYPO3, how you call it, ancestry, or we're part of the let's say the older generation. Nevertheless, it doesn't mean that you're not improving and changing. So what should we know about Sitegeist nowadays? So what is Sitegeist currently doing and coming maybe also through the special time, and how can agility maybe also can help there?
Yeah, of course, to have a real agile mindset really helps, because everybody has to be agile in these days, more than everybody wanted. But we have been ready that time, and it improved the whole company really a lot, and it leads by that we are consulting other agency with doing this special kind of agency framework. That was not planned, it was asked to us. And nowadays we have an own company just for agile consulting and stuff like that. And we are consulting giant companies like Otto in this agile stuff. And it is maybe to the CIOs of the people who are watching us, maybe this could be the biggest game changer in the next years if you concentrate in getting an agile mindset to your company.
Okay, we will come back later to the agile mindset. I guess that's something that we really need to look inside. But I would like to have Robert to give a short introduction. I know Robert from many years ago, and he's a great person to talk to and to reflect on things that is on your mind. So I'm very happy to have you here in this session, and that you're also taking the time to open your view on what we need to know about agility and about being extreme. Robert, your microphone.
Thank you, Olivier, thank you for the invitation as well to speak here. So my name is Robert Weißgraeber. I'm managing director at AX Semantics. Most people will probably don't know what we do. We're a small Stuttgart-based technology company, and we offer a tool for people to automate their content creation, or actually automate their copywriting. You could just Google it and If you have questions, I'll be around after this. I've done many years in TYPO3 projects and stuff, and I've never really lost contact, and I really love coming back to the community. So this is always a staple event coming to the TYPO3 events, even if I personally don't have much contact with TYPO3 anymore in terms of projects, but some of my customers, they still use, or they use content management systems, and TYPO3 is always coming up in that context. So I've never lost focus there. And with being in the content space, in the publishing space, that's something that's always comes up here. So we have the triplicate problem of agility here, and the first one is that, of course, we do product development, which for everyone always sounds so easy, and where agility is always, that's where Scrum and it all is coming from. So that's what we do. We try to put all the practices that we talk about in motion here. So that's one thing. On the other hand, we have the second agility problem is that with automated content generation, you enable something that's actually, you're moving from writing something that has to be perfect because it's being published. You move the writing space to continuous copywriting as well, because I can actually change something in a text later on backwards in time, which is very cool, and it requires a tremendous amount of transformation in the mindset of copywriters at our customers. And the third thing is, and that's, people always talk about, yeah, this works for projects, this works for product development, this works for IT. But in my personal role, we're also a VC-funded company. We raised over 10 million euros already over the last 2 years. So I have the second problem of delivering on promises to VCs that we do in terms of product, in terms of revenue and stuff like that. And we still do that with agile or hyper agile or whatever you call it mindset as well. Yeah.
Okay, all right. That sounds pretty interesting. I really like also the bridge that you're projecting here into this talk. So let's go back to the explanation. So my question to you is maybe what actually, there's since the pandemic, there's so many things going on about new work, about how companies need to be agile and all this kind of stuff. But what is this anyway? What is agile anyway? Where does this come from? And where is it rooted? Maybe one of you can explain that to me. Or I know some stuff, but I'm not an expert. So basically, somebody could explain a little bit when this whole thing started, and what is it? Is it a method? Is it a lifestyle? Is it a drug? I don't know. So maybe you can tell, somebody can tell me. You're just looking for who wants to start.
Maybe Robert starts, because just to point that out, he gave the first impulse, the first move to Agile with his NoEstimates talk. And after that, I heard and saw and read a lot about the stuff. And that was my initial creation of all the stuff. And so maybe you have to start.
Okay, so I have to start. Okay, thanks. Well, first of all, I really hate the term Agile. That's because it's a word. It's just a word, and people are putting presumptions on that. What Agile is, not only because it's now a big industry and there's consultancies about it and coaches and books and stuff, but really put it that, yeah, we are Agile now, or we want to be Agile. But in the end, you want to have something, not because you want a buzzword, because you want to do something else. And I think the basic problem of that Agile tries to solve is that you don't have to deliver on what you promised or what you thought you want to do, but actually deliver the right thing, because it's about a learning path that you open. Say, okay, let's build a product or let's build something for a customer, and then you decide on what you do, and then the next 1.5 years you have your work is set and you exactly deliver what you promised. But the real world isn't like this. your environment changes, your market changes, yourself, you learn stuff, assumptions that you did about your product won't work anymore. And that's basically what Agile actually tries to do. And in the NoEstimates or no projects debate, one of the biggest things that picked me up when I learned about this was actually not agility, but continuity. That's a big thing that you have a project, and one example that's the first one. I think we'll have lots of those today. But the big thing is, if you think about projects, you have this, and I'm project manager by role and from a person. So you start a project and you make a plan, and you start with a team. You make a kickoff, and then the team learns to work together, and then you have the first problems, and you learn, and the team grows emotionally as well. And at one point, you're a working team. Actually, I mean, there's these team development charts and then psychographic analysis out there. But at some time it's just, and then you deliver your project, and then everyone goes home into his original desk in his matrix organization. And then he starts the next project, and everyone just start again with team building and kickoffs and everything that. But that doesn't make sense. So we waste more time in kickoffs than with delivery. And we remove successful project teams and give them back to their line managers to start over again the next day or the next week. And that's something that doesn't make sense. We invest so much time in that, in people actually, and then we destroy it just because we have this vehicle of project which delivers value into the organization.
Yeah, and I think this is where we started. Just to give the people, the persons who don't know what we're doing exactly, a small idea what we are doing. We are doing, well, let me say, quite big projects. Yeah, like, I don't know, several hundred of thousands of euros. So, and these projects we are doing finally because of we are doing it extreme agile with almost no estimates. We are doing it without office, without specs, and no contract. We are paid per hour. And of course, all of the clients in the first moment to say, oh no, this is not possible with us. And when they see how much better this kind of working as an agency like that way is, they don't want to change anymore. And these kind of big projects we're doing, and I realized that this idea of no estimates, because estimations really does not work, is doing mad. Everybody knows how crazy it is. I really don't know whether the project will cost 200,000 or 300,000. It depends from the behavior of the client. The main difference is not whether the agency is good or not. It's how lean and how agile the client will behave. And this is where we started to know we want to avoid all these waste. Contract, offers, specs, because I have only one question. In the next project, if you make the contracts and the specs 3 times thicker than the last time, what percentage the project will be better? 0. I mean, it's just a waste of time. You don't need it, and you have to be honest to yourself and your client that it does not make the project any better. And they believe that it is not possible to work without a fixed offer, but it is. We are doing it since 5 years, and almost everything is way better than before.
Okay, so thanks for that very short short introduction to what agile means to you both, and especially how agile is lived or is part of the way how Sitegeist is creating value for their customers. So I remember that I have visited some presentations in the past, and most of the and something that's something also that you mentioned, Robert, was this line organization, this matrix organization, huge organizations trying to improve their business, to and then somehow going from static into a more flexible organization. Nevertheless, it seems to me, and there's a nice question that is been asked by Adrian here in the chat. So basically, let's have a look. What we're talking at the moment is we're talking maybe agencies, and we're not talking end clients or organizations that we are serving. So the question that Adrian was raising is, do all agencies already have adopted an agile way of working? I mean, I know that you can, I set up a Trello board and then I am doing Kanban, or I have Jira and then I am doing Scrum. You know, basically we have often this other stuff that people are confusing the tools with the methods and so on. So my question is, what is your experience, or what you are actually seeing in the market as with other agencies that are actually helping customers to develop projects, products, campaigns, whatever? Do you think that this is already the majority of the agencies and they're just hiding that, or what is your take on that?
Well, I think at the last, I don't know, Lean Kanban Central Europe conference, I had a talk, and it was called Living the Agile Bubble. I think a big percentage of agency is doing in some percentage kind of agile, and there is no real definition for it. But what I'm thinking is that they are caught in their agile bubble. They are doing and using all the agile stuff and the tools. And this improves a lot in the work and how they organize the work. And the customer is very often outside of this bubble, and he can behave as old school like as ever. And then you really did not achieve the half of the maximum effect you can achieve. That's, I think, is a real problem, that they think, okay, with my client, he wants a fixed contract, and so I can't be paid by hours. And it is possible. It is just a small slide of other kind of explanation and showing him in real how it works, to be ready when he expects the first offer for the small project. Be ready with the project and show him the already ready project and said, I don't need an explanation. It took me 60 hours, and if you pay me the 60 hours, then we have a contract and you can start right now. And then it's faster than before. It's already proven.
All right. Robert, what is on your mind to that question? So we've heard about the agile bubble. So that seems something that basically everybody's like I see this image of people in those footballs that you blow up and you're inside and then you go down the hill. So that seems to me something that is maybe fun, but also gives you some sort of headache at the beginning. So I understood the approach of Sven saying, hey, just do it, okay, the customer has expressed an idea that he has, that, and then you just execute and you just present the idea before going into contract and negotiation and then having an estimate. Okay, it will take this. So basically, I understand that this is a nice way of maybe convincing people to do stuff. But yeah, I don't know.
Okay.
Robert.
Well, I think that the first one is that we always think, and that's natural because that's how we organize. But we have the separation between the customer and the agency. So we have, and we keep talking as like this is still a separate boundary. And in some cases that might be true, but in reality, what the customer actually wants as a client is to make you as a agency or freelancer or whatever team he hires or whatever setup he has to have the same interest in terms of his business goals. So we need to make sure that the interest of the agency is aligned with what the customer wants and needs, actually, not what he wants, but probably more what he needs. And then we're actually talking about his customer needs now. And what we do is with contracts, for example, about how we organize projects, and it doesn't matter if it's Scrum or Agile or whatever. If I have like a client agency, customer agency relationship, and we have someone who's thinking and ordering stuff, and the other one are fulfilling this, we're separating the thinking and the doing. And as long as we have that, we will never have something that's called Agile. because we will always just do what we're being told. Sometimes we'll give better feedback, and sometimes we'll be cheaper. I mean, that's if I remove the time to write a contract, we saved some hours, so it will be cheaper. That's okay, but it doesn't. That's losing the goal of how do we solve the problem of the persons and the team are doing that, of solving the real user needs at the end, and going for the end business goals. Yeah, and all the other stuff, contracts, payment methods, payment material, are just proxies for that discussion. And if we talk about the proxies first, we structure already so much of that conversation that we actually will never be able to deliver on the customer needs, because I mean, you both are CEOs of TYPO3 agencies. So if you've signed a contract to deliver something, you have to deliver that. Even if both sides wouldn't want to do that anymore, there would be a needed process to change that and remove that stuff from the contract, because that's it is. And then as the CEO of a company, you have some interest. I mean, there's this typical, my pet peeve example is always this event calendar that needs to be on each website, and every TYPO3 agency always pays 3,000 or 4,000 euros or every customer to get that delivered. And it always kind of like it's a clunky, badly programmed stuff, because it's always been delivered late. But I mean, that's revenue, and that's something that you need to pay your employees with. And it's so even if everyone would agree that actually we don't need it, you would be so probably let's deliver it so we can have and earn our bills. Sven?
Yeah. It's absolutely true what you say, but it really starts with a beginning sentence which you had to talk about the game or the goal or the target of the client, because often they don't have a target. I mean, what is your target for this project? And he says, yeah. Oh, one target? No, I can't tell. I have here 60 pages and I want to reach every word which is written here, but this is no target. And you have to really find out what they really want. And sometimes they really have no target, because they want to do this relaunch, because each 3 years they get the money to make a relaunch. And if they don't take it and use it, then the money is lost. And this is real target. And then, okay, maybe let's create a target together. And the second thing is, you can build a lot of trust in doing agile stuff, in showing him what does this mean. I really hope if someone is on the phone and looking for a new agency, and he says, yeah, I want to make a relaunch and I have 90,000 euro. I really, really hope that it's possible to convince him that he maybe does not need a relaunch. Maybe if I find out on the telephone his real targets, and then I say, maybe so bad, your internet website isn't so bad, maybe we can reach most of your target just with some quick wins, which maybe only cost 10 or 20,000 euros. And then, okay, we have a workshop in 2 days, and he will try to work with each other, because he knows that we want to find out his goal. He wants to reach it with as less money as possible. And we don't, okay, you want a relaunch, we make a relaunch. Maybe it's necessary or not. And this is really interesting. You have to ask them what they want, what they really, really want. And often they don't know. And then you have the chance to show them that you're honest and you're a good consultant.
But then also sorry, Olivier, that requires that you're talking to the right people. And that's the thing that also, if you're, I don't necessarily need to make it down to the hierarchy, but if you're talking to just a team lead in a company, in a bigger one, they really don't have a choice of not doing that relaunch, because that there's a bigger goal, or somewhere in the OKRs there's relaunch in it, so they have to do it. Okay, Olivier.
I was like, okay, I understood that the traditional world, or let's say the waterfall world, is that we have those clear roles. You're the agency, you have to execute on my ideas, don't come back with questions, or don't question them. So I am the thinker, you are the doer. So basically that's this Taylorism thing that we have there, that basically organizations interact with each other, and everything, everything is based on a contract, and the contract is like actually kind of a blueprint for everything that happens in the project, and so on and so forth. And then there's like reality happening with a lot of gaps. So that's what when people feel they feel bad about it, or they know, okay, I'm living in there's this one quotation, there's no right life in the wrong life, right? So you cannot live in being wrong in the wrong life. So so the question for me is, okay, we have this world outside, and the world is transforming. We have had globalization. People are like kind of okay, we have this complex project. We know that we need some kind of a planning. We need to estimate or guesstimate stuff that is going to happen. So we just act as this is certainty, right? So I understand that the agile world gives me a way on how to experiment and to deal with those questions that we have in our projects, that we can, in the Scrum method, for example, one of the biggest things is to test, inspect, and then to adapt, and to say, okay, we have an assumption about something, we test it, and then we see where we're right or where we're not right. I think it's also about the how a fold culture can be lived in an organization. So I feel that we have this monolithic big corporations that are on that level, and then there's those that's the world they are in, and now they, as you were saying some moments earlier, they get the Kool-Aid of agility, and then they just act. They're actors, but they're not really living or not being the persons in that. So there was this one question here from Sebastian. He was like asking, okay, how can we convince customers to move from waterfall models, or from certitude, or how you call it, or assumptions that are already results? How can we move to something to be more playful, more test, and also dealing with, let's say, the real life, the complex life that we have, not the complicated life, because that can be tackled, I guess, with repetition and production and quality management. But what is beyond that? What is beyond? What is, how? Oh, there's the pandemic. What does it mean for my business model? Oh, how do I send stuff to my customers or to my employees, and how they send in their vacation notes and stuff like that? So I think the question is, how can we convince customers to become more to go the agile way, or to be more playful, or more open to doing maybe stuff step by step, instead of creating the big bang at the end of the project? Robert.
Okay. Well, the very easy answer to that, Sebastian, actually is do what Sven does and use a gun and force your customers to do that. So basically, what Sven does is basically there are no contracts. If you want me as an agency, we do it our way. That's it. And that's part of the bigger picture of you select who will be your customer. So that's very simple and pretty much oversimplificated answer, but that's what's happening. And then the question for you as a person or agency or something is just, is the market share that I can access big enough? Yes, no. Can I live with that? That's the first thing. And then, of course, you can try to grow that part of customers who accept that kind of way and make it bigger with success that will make it grow that. That's the one thing. So selecting what you can do with the customers, growing that kind of mindset at your customers. That's a hard thing, because you actually have to transform your potential customers before they are customers, while they are not deciding for someone else. And the third one is just make a trick. I mean, I did a bigger TYPO3 project, and I used dices to estimate. And the project was so big that over time, I think we had like 200 dice rolls. I used some multi-sided ones to make the numbers not too similar. And so the project was big, and statistics just proved us right. So, I mean, the customer got his contract, they got their estimates, And it worked out well because we focused on how to execute with whatever we got out of the dice throws. So that's the trick thing is something that's probably a little bit dishonest, but I mean, that's something that you could try to get out. And the third one is, in the big thing, there is no waterfall approach. In reality, if you look at the original 1970 paper from Royce, where he wrote about it, people just didn't read the last page. There's even on the last page, it's really easy like this. So he has this waterfall chart, and then on the next page, he has it's commented with how it would look in reality, and it totally looks weirdly complicated. So in reality, there is no either or, but in reality, there's only reality. So the difference, I've just looked that up on the iPad. So this is the original.
Oh, we can't see it.
That's the so this is the original.
Oh, yeah.
That's the one that everyone knows. But if you look at the second paper, it actually he even wrote it. It's looking like this.
Yeah, that looks more like a Scrum iterations.
Actually, it looks exactly like Scrum iteration, right?
Yeah.
So because in reality, waterfall doesn't work as well. Right. So everyone agrees that, we'll do it like this, then we don't talk about it and we focus on execution as well. So it's not either or, it's more like whatever.
But funnily, the bigger the projects got, the more you just, that's my experience that I have had from a European Union project. And this is because it was, it's funded, it comes from a big administration and they think basically, they think, okay, we know exactly what we will do in the third year, on what delivery we're going to work, and they structure everything in a way that, the partners are doing in the first year this, and the partners are doing that in the next year. So this was like actually a real waterfall planning, but it was more like roadmaps. So at the end, it was like kind of, we sold it as a waterfall model because with that you had like all the critical paths and all resources and amount of person days that you want, and the partners had to plan and to go for it. But this had nothing to do with the project results. And I think that's also there's also separation between, let's say, if you have a website project where you, let's say you want to, and this is what mostly all companies want to do. They want to attract sales. They want to have people coming from out of nowhere to their website, find the product, ask for a price. They're not. I don't think that most companies are really going e-commerce, right? Or it's those companies in Germany that they're like, okay, help me just do my sales pitch best, and just have a form, and at the end we just copy and paste it from the form into SAP, and we don't need SAP integration, or we don't need the RRP integration in there. So what I wanted to ask you is, so what is project reality, or I think can we look, by looking at the book, at the cover of the book, can we have a look what's really inside? So if we look at how a project is pitched to us, can we understand what the customer wants? Maybe Sven, you have some ideas on that?
Yeah. Okay. Let's talk about complex projects. I mean, if you have a website for a small restaurant and you did it 100 times, then you exactly know in which small range the cost and the timing will be. But talking about bigger and more complex projects, and this is how we right now already are talking with the clients. We are honest. We don't know what it will cost at the end, and this is the truth. And this is not only our truth, this is also the truth of the other agencies, but they are not knowing it, or not fair enough to tell you, because we can't know all this stuff in advance. But the main question was how to convince the people, and to convince Robert, a little bit. There is no gun. We're not using gun. No. Sometimes, to be honest, we are not asking ourselves, will this client accept our really strange and not common way of doing projects? And we know it before he will start with saying no. And after talk and explain it a little bit, it sounds good, but that won't work with us and so on. My question right now is, are we convinced that in the next 3 or 6 months, we will convince him that the other way is better? Then we start the old school, the normal way. So, and then in the next project, and that's also the reason why we hope that the first project is small, because the first project sometimes we have to do the old school way. And that's why I'm expecting and hoping this is very small, and that we came faster to a second project where we can show them the difference. So, but also in the calculation, if he wants it to do it the old school way, we say, okay, our method, our real is no religion. We can do it the old school way. But it starts with a difference, because we are really convinced that all these waste, here, finally, when a project is over, it was at least 1/3 of the project. Let's say 1/3. So, and you want all the waste. Okay, we can produce it if you love it, if you're fine with it. Okay, but then we sent him 2 offers. One, our lean and agile way, we call it real, 100,000 euro. That means, for the mathematical people from you, when 2/3 cost 100,000, the normal old school project, the same result, will cost 150,000. And then it becomes interesting, also for his boss. Okay, we have 2 offers with the same result, 150,000 the old school way, and 100,000 if we are maybe trying to be a little bit agile. Well, let's give it a try. Maybe that's really good.
Okay, so that's the second hack. The second hack is to show 2 offers and say, this is the red pill and this is the blue pill, and you have to choose what you want to do, Neo, right? So it's waking up, or just stay in your cocoon and just be part of the matrix, and don't control the matrix or to overcome the matrix. Okay, that's a pretty good one. So I have Patrick, who has a remark on extreme agility and NoEstimate can be a pain in the public sector environment where tender process is set in stone, but there are sometimes ways to overcome this. So maybe Patrick, you could type some bullet points on what exactly, or what is the hintings that you have in that area. That I would be very interested into that, because I often also see that really there's so many cool projects being hidden in RFPs, and somehow I don't know how to convince customers. I know that I've seen, and greetings to Peter Pearl, who's also a guy who's in the TYPO3 community, and he was always like an ambassador for also the agile way. I guess not agile way, but he's more like the beta codex stuff, and it's more about service oriented, product oriented organizations. I wish we could have invited him also into this discussion, as he has sometimes very, very clever points. Robert, what's on your mind?
Well, the thing is why public sector environments are often a little bit feeling like they're even stricter than what we see from other clients, is that they are by nature being required to have a higher level of governance.
Okay.
Why is it being spent? How is it exactly being used? Far better transparency. Normally, I mean, if a normal client gives you spend 150,000 euros, as long as you don't bill 160,000 or 170,000, he will never care about. The CFO will never even see, it would just be fine, right? And even so nobody cares about after the decision is being made. Nobody cares about that in between. That's different in public sector. And what you can actually do here is separate the contract and the spending and the governance. And for example, have a governance organization part in your offer, or set up some kind of like process there to work together, and then separate that from the pure commercial and the pure execution stuff. So you deliver to the same problem, because what we still have to deliver to the needs of the clients. And in this case, I mean, at the end, public sector, the end client is the public itself, and they demand some kind of transparency, and that's in the law, so they have to deliver that. We cannot actually change the client here. We cannot just demand from someone else, okay, give me 200,000 euros in time and material, and we do 12 sprints. That's not something that they're not allowed to do. But if we have some kind of governance here, and 2 seconds, set up some kind of governance, maybe even with a third party, which they always like, or some auditors and stuff like that, then you'll be able to do that. Sven?
Okay.
Yeah, it's really interesting. You said regarding this talk in Amsterdam, that was one of the first bigger talks about this topic. And there at the end, I hear me saying, there are some exceptions. For example, these kind of companies you're talking about, or the big, huge companies which are using SAP and all this stuff. It's not possible for them to do your stuff. This is what my last sentence is. These are the exceptions. 1 or 2 years later, I deleted the sentence, because not us, we're not so intelligent, but our clients who had good experience with this real model, they invented methods to do it in this sector with these big companies and so on. It was the following way. We made the first smaller project the old school way. So then we say, okay, we are going in advance. We're just working for 4 hours, and then you will see the result. And if you don't like it, you don't have to pay, okay? And then, oh, that was fast, that was cheap. Oh, I love this way of doing stuff. And after building the trust and see the results, and one main thing is we are trying to be faster and cheaper. If we say our estimation is 80,000, we are very happy when we are ready, when we are done, and it's only 60,000. So, and if this happens the first time, then your client is the king in the whole company, because this has never happened before. So, and then he said, but I need these kind of contracts. I'm so sorry, but there's an idea, and this is a real story. I don't tell the client's name. I trust you. We want to do this project. What is your estimation? Let's say, okay, 40,000 euro. Okay, if it's 45, okay, but around 40, it's okay. And just do the project. Trust me, I will pay you. And if you're ready and you know whether it's 38 or 42, can you give me an offer with another date? Is this possible? So, and I had to check whether it's possible the legal way, software can do it. And both is, yes, it's possible. It's maybe a little bit gray zone. And that was the solution. So if they really saw in reality, not theory, that it's really better, then they will find a way to do the stuff. And it's in this global official public sector, it's much easier. It's really this first big boundary, and after that, do the real stuff, do it good, don't need more money.
But this discussion and the questions that are coming up here in the chat are as well, they actually show the underlying problem. We are now 48 minutes into the session, and we already spend 45 minutes talking about costs. But that's the wrong thing. We don't have to manage costs, we have to manage value at the customer. That's the important part. I mean, every agency, if I delivered an offer to a company, if it's a RFP or some kind of different contract, I was always like, yeah, but we will deliver the best value for the customer because we've done that 3 times already. I know exactly what they want. And yeah, there's a competitor that has the same amount of money, but we are better. So we are talking about value here, and our argumentation is about value. But in reality now, and the discussion here, and Thomas, your question is correct, but it's about cost. But there's far different ways of managing cost than by estimation. I always love to do allocation. That's my easy workaround. I say, okay, we do 2 developers 1 month. That's 20 times 2 days. That's 40,000 euros. And now talk about what we do in that time. Yeah. So the customers get their limit of costs because I decide how much money I want to spend on this. right? Or in a product as well. I decide how big the team will be for that feature or whatever. That's a decision that I make by, how much value would I get out of it if I have it? And then in that time, then we build it, and then we do inspection points after a few days or weeks. We look at, did we deliver enough? And we need to do continuous delivery now, because otherwise we would fear of spending some iterations on it without delivering anything, and then we have delivered nothing, and then we have destroyed value, and we only have the cost. So you have some underlyings of what is coming from and that's why I said I don't like Agile, I like the continuous thing. You have to do lots of the practices from Agile, continuous delivery. You have to maybe do governance approaches or others to solve some other needs. But try to look at the value and make your customer focus on the value and what he can get out of it, and not managing cost. Managing cost is you said Taylor, Olivier, that's a 1900s or the last decade, or probably last decade style of managing stuff, when you're still looking at warehouses and fabrics and people as resources. That's not how software works. Yeah,
absolutely. But a main thing in this whole stuff is having a project goal together with a client. It really sounds like philosophic stuff, and you really don't need it. Don't waste any time. Isn't it that waste? No, it is not. Because to answer the question, in which moment we will go live? When everything is ready? No, much earlier. I mean, we have such a shitty website, and when maybe 60 or 70% of your new website is ready and can be used, when we are convinced that the result will be better than the right now old shitty website, we will go online. And maybe we have the experience, we thought that there's 30% missing, maybe we just need 5% and the rest is fine. And we don't need everything then of the stuff we expected before. This is not possible in a fixed contract. You build everything what's written there. No, if we are good on the project, we found out which we can throw away and don't invoice the people. And building value for amount of money which the client have is to think these contract stuff the other way around. Just the last example from what we saw from Robert. When we have 100,000 euro and we have one goal, and we have 100 modules which we might think that build. So, and then in the workshop, when this is the main goal, which module is the most important? Maybe, let's say, the search. Okay, the search is the main thing of this whole project. Okay, how many percentage of the 100,000 we would invest on the search? Let's just take a number. 20,000. Okay, 20,000. What can the search? What are the functions? We don't know. But then we make a brainstorming with the best functions we would love. And then we will make a ranking. And then we build all the functions from the search until the 20,000s are gone. And then we don't know. We won't build all the ideas, but we will build the best ideas. And this will be the best investment of this percentage of money. And this also works. And then we don't have to define it in advance. You have the best investment for this 20,000 money and building the best functions for the search. This is a total way around thinking stuff. And if you convince the client to do that way, then you are happy and so many less argues. And finally, we say, pay what we want if it's too much. And the percentage of unpaid hours has never been so small. After we are saying, finally, you can say, each month you can say, oh, that was too much, it's not worth it, then delete it and we correct the invoice. It really works because the amount of unpaid invoiced hours is so small.
Wow. So great point. Don't look at the cost, look at the value. The value is basically what you are telling us as value, the goal, and then the goal the goal is something that should actually create value, and so the question that arises for me is, how can we measure this value? How is this objectively, can this be measured? And not only just Thomas has had Thomas here in the chat had this. He's drilling into this because you're saying, okay, I don't want to have this the sky is the limit thing. I imagine you're going to hire a company to redesign your house with new paint and new floor, new electricity, heating, super duper golden stuff, faucets that you can open, and then you just enter the shower and automatically it recognizes you and it gives you the right temperature and the right amount of water, and then somewhere else soap is coming out and shooting at you, and you just got out very clean and so on. So I understand where this discussion is going to, but he's asking, okay, for somebody that wants something physically to be built, right? Like a house, but
well, you can't make.
On the other side, I would expect from somebody that would I would just cut the whole work into different bundles, and I would say, okay, the bathroom, I speak to a bathroom expert and I ask him, what is the cost range and what kind of variants do you offer me? So for the or do you have a point on that, Robert?
Yeah.
Can also the guy doing your toilets be agile, or
what we are talking about is something that works in a non-physical software world? That the context here is super important. It works in a complex environment. So if you look at the Cinefin framework, which defines something from complicated to chaotic, these are agile, and these methods are made to work in a complex environment. Do not take them out of this context and put them somewhere else. That won't work. So that comparison, that doesn't solve the problem. Wordly has this kind of Wordly maps where he tries to put software components into various stages of from genesis to utility, and then select appropriate methods for each. So for example, I would never do an authentication service and program that using agile methods. I would buy that from something like Auth0 or something in Google or whatever, just use it. That's appropriate method, and then it would take us, if I'm a big company, I'd take my supply chain manager or my purchasing manager and make him put the price down. That's the job in this case, right? And so it's very, very important to look at methods not as they have to work in every context, but to look at the context first, and then look at methods that work there.
All right. So we have another 3 minutes to go, and I see that there's a great, really great discussions going on here in the chat. Thanks for that. That helps a lot. Yeah. So maybe a closing word from you guys. Is there? This morning I asked like some questions about opportunities, about challenges, stuff like that. But maybe I ask you the Lonely Island question again, and I hope that you can answer that. So let's say you would need to go to a lonely island where people are doing work in the old-fashioned way. Well, then it's not a lonely island, then it's an island, right? So, but it's a lonely island because they are still doing waterfall models, because they have those nice waterfalls in the landscape, and that's how they can relate to. So my question would be, Sven, what is in your suitcase to convince those people for the lonely island, for real, for the real methodology?
I will tell him the story of Project Island, the old school ways. I mean, we're doing super modern, super hyper duper projects, very modern in the way projects have been done 150 years ago. This couldn't be the best way. This is the first thing, to tell them that the old school stuff is really nothing. And then have a goal. Look, what's the most important parts of the goal, make these things super duper, and be honest with the client. My favorite sentence is, the majority of the modules for you, dear client, I will build maximum average, not better. Because we will save the money for the really important stuff. And please do not give me a rebriefing for your footer. It will change nothing. No, and all the stuff which will change, we will put on the Ponyhof, the Ponyard list, all these fancy stuff which is so fancy and my taste and not really important. Put it on the Ponyhof yard, and maybe if we're on the end of the project and there's some money and time left, we will look on it. But let's concentrate on the real goal and make this as fast and as lean as possible. And then we can see whether there's some time and money for some fancy stuff. And you will see that 80% of the fancy stuff you won't anymore.
All right. So, Robert, what's in your suitcase? Let's say you're going on an island where everybody's typing, you know, on a type machine to write those articles. So, what is in your suitcase? I would assume from Remova. So, I'm not getting paid for that too.
Well, I would take some dices with me, because that's always a method to convince people that, okay, let's try your estimation method versus my dice throws, and then let's see what works better, and then we'll both learn from that experience.
Excellent. All right. So thanks again for joining us today on this very special TYPO3 International Meetup Days. I think that format was very agile. I must say that I had some questions that I sent to you, and I had here stuff prepared, but I really enjoyed the conversation. I hope that everybody also in the audience was able to extract something out of it. I know we haven't been that academic, or we haven't been that maybe that well prepared, but I felt that we had a good we got back to the actual points, value versus costs, and doing versus thinking, and so on. So I think this was pretty nice. Yeah, thanks for the kudos here in the chat. Sven, I think people need to take a picture out of that and then mirror it. I think we're seeing you in a mirrored way. So your name is not Sven, but Sven, and you're Echo from. Hopefully everybody can find you in the participants list. I think from there.
We have a booth. I think somebody can meet me there.
Yes, exactly.
I will switch in the booth in a second.
Excellent. Okay, thank you very much. Also, everybody for joining. It was a pleasure for me to have you, and I'm really, if there's one thing I can tell to everyone in the TYPO3 community, is that through time you build up relationships with really brilliant people. Those guys are two of them, and they have inspired me to do things and change things. Hopefully also they can inspire you to do something in a different way. And I'm pretty sure that everybody here in the audience has taken something out of this call, and I send you my best greetings, and talk to you later. Thanks again.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Goodbye.